Hello and welcome to this tutorial for users of Excel 2016 for the Mac. In this tutorial we're going to look at annotating spreadsheets with both text and graphics. And you can see here the spreadsheet we've been working on in the previous tutorial. So we have a table of data, values and a chart linked to that table. And Fred would like to have, let's say, a company meeting, inviting the managers from the 4 stores you can see here and discuss these figures. And he wants to add some text and graphics to the spreadsheet to highlight certain parts and also remind him about the things that he'd like to discuss. One of the ways that you can add text to a spreadsheet is through the use of cell comments. What I'd like to do here is highlight this value in March for the North Store. So I'm going to click on the cell there, D4, the £1,150 value. And there's a few ways I can add a comment. One is to bring up a shortcut menu by either using the keyboard and mouse to control and click, or obviously if you have a 2-button mouse you can right click, and on the option list you'll see there insert comment. I'm going to press the escape key and cancel that menu, and instead I'm going to go to the review tab. So if you go up to the toolbar area, go to the review tab, and in the options you'll see the comment section here. And I'm going to click on the button here, New Comment. When I do that, you'll see the comment box appears now on the spreadsheet. The label Microsoft Office User appears. You may have a different username depending on how your computer is set up, but in any event I don't want to use that, so I'm going to click at the end there and actually delete that whole section. And then I'm going to type in the message I want to appear, which is great result. And there may be an exclamation mark as well. At the moment the box is too large for the text I've entered, so I can resize the box, and I'm going to put the mouse pointer on the edge there and just use the corner drag handle. You'll see the buttons around the edge of the box. I'm going to use the bottom right hand corner, click and drag to resize, and that will make the text fit the box slightly better. When I'm happy I can either click away from that or press the escape key, so don't press the enter key to enter a comment. To enter a comment you simply click away from the content, so I'll just click into any other cell and there you go, the comment box disappears. And if I want to see that comment now, all I need to do is put the mouse pointer over that particular cell and you'll see the comment pops up, and if I move away it disappears, and so on. So that's a great way of adding additional information to your spreadsheet, and of course it doesn't take up any additional space, so it won't clog up your existing spreadsheet. If you want to remove a comment, it's simply a case of clicking on the cell that contains the comment. Again, you can either bring up the shortcut menu and choose delete comment. Alternatively, again, if I just cancel that with the escape key, again under the review tab you have the option to delete the comment here. You can also show the comment by putting it on the spreadsheet permanently. So for example, if I come over to the right side of that comment section, you'll see here the button show hide comment. If I click on that, the comment now appears, and that will remain on the spreadsheet until I click the button again. And the other option is useful if you have multiple comments on the spreadsheet, so you can show every single comment. So if I click on that, they all would appear. You can discuss whatever you need to cover, and then when you're finished, click the button again and they will all be hidden. If you want to edit a comment, maybe add some additional text, it's as simple as making sure again the cell is selected. In this case I'm going to right click, or if you have the keyboard mouse combination it's control and click, bring up the shortcut menu, I'll choose edit comment, and then it's simply a case of click wherever you want to in the text and edit the comment. So I'm just going to add on the word team perhaps, like so. You'll notice, by the way, my additional word has now disappeared, so I'll need to resize the text box. So again, click on the edge and just resize to bring that additional word in there. It's not unusual for the comment text to disappear because the comment box is the wrong size, but as you can see it's a simple matter of clicking and dragging to resize as you need. So again, I'm happy there. I'm just going to click away. So you've seen there that adding comments is a great way of adding additional information to a spreadsheet. But if you want something a little bit more permanent, then a text box is a better solution. So to add a text box, I'm going to first go to the Insert tab and then come right over to the right hand side, and you'll see incidentally also on the Insert tab we have a new comment button, so that's another option if you want to add a comment. But just to the right of that we have the text section here, and I'm going to click on the text box button there. So I'll click on that to activate it. When I move the mouse pointer back onto the spreadsheet, you'll see the icon has changed, so I get an arrow with a small A attached indicating I'm in text box mode, and all I need to do now is click wherever I want the text box to appear and then start typing. So for this example, we're going to have a little meeting schedule, and I'm just going to enter a few things that Fred might want to talk about with his store managers. Well, there's a few things there anyway. Sales and future plans we will say he's going to talk about. You'll notice that I didn't need to actually resize the text box. Simply click anywhere, start to type, and the text box will automatically resize as you enter the text. If I'm not happy with the location of the text box, I can move it obviously by putting the mouse pointer onto the edge, and this time I actually get a four-way arrow. When I get the four-way arrow, it's simply a case of clicking and dragging to wherever I might want to put it. So I'm just going to put it perhaps over on the right there near the chart. And as well as my text box, I now have a new tab as well, and it's called Shape Format. So if I click on Shape Format, we have all the formatting options for the shape. So for example, if I don't want a transparent text box, I could perhaps add a fill color. So you'll see there the option Shape Fill. If I click on that, I might have perhaps this pale color background for it. I also want to highlight the edge of the text box. So I'll come back to the Shape Format toolbar, and I'm going to click on the Shape Outline button there, and if I get the options, let's choose something, maybe a strong blue, like so. And if I want to make the line a bit thicker, again come back to those same options. You'll see the weight option here, and perhaps I'll make it 3 points to make it stand out really well. Once I'm happy with everything, to deselect I can simply click anywhere else. Next, I want to add some graphics to the spreadsheet to highlight a certain area, and I'd like to highlight the month of April, the sales figures here, by placing a circle around those figures and then have a text box that indicates why I want to talk about those figures. So first of all, I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and in the illustration section I'm going to click on the drop down arrow there for shapes. And you'll see here we have a huge number of different shapes we can apply to the spreadsheet to help us. I want to do something quite simple, which is simply to add a circle. And I can see that in the most recently used options here. So if I click on a circle graphic, or oval as it says, I can then draw the circle or oval around that month. And then when it appears, I can position it. Now don't worry about the fact that it's completely obscuring the data at the moment because it's all filled in. So what I need to do is go to the Shape Fill option. You'll notice by the way we have the Shape Format tab now active. So under Shape Fill, all I need to do is say No Fill, and that makes it a transparent circle. You'll see the line around the data that I want highlighted, but the line thickness isn't good enough, so I'm going to increase the line thickness by again coming back to those Shape Format options, and this time click on the drop down for Shape Outline. You'll see the button here, just click on the drop down and just see the weight options, and I can increase that again to say 3 point to make that circle stand out a bit more clearly. Now if I'm not happy with the location or shape of the line, there's a few things I can do. First of all, I can use the drag handles around the circle to either compress or expand it, as you can see there. So I can maybe drag the right side in. I might also come over to the left side and then drag the left side in a little bit. I want to make sure that the month name doesn't get obscured, so I have to be careful there. You can also rotate the shape, and you'll see if you look at the top row drag handles above there, you'll also see a button, and if I move the mouse pointer over, you'll see it turns into this curly arrow shape. And when I get that, if I click and drag, you'll see I can actually rotate that circle if I want to maybe make the selection or the highlighted area covered a bit more accurately. So rotate it a little bit to the left, only slightly. And as well as clicking and dragging to move the shape, just put the mouse pointer over the edge like so, which you've seen before. You can also use the arrow keys on the keyboard to get a very precise positioning of the shape if you prefer to use the keyboard to do that. I'm going to add another shape now, and I'm going to add an arrow. And I don't need to go back to the Insert tab. I can use the Shape Format tab, come across to the Insert Shape section, click on the drop down here, and you'll see I've got some arrows and lines here These are too thin. I want a thicker block arrow, so I'm going to come over and you'll see some block arrow designs there. It doesn't really matter which one I choose. I'll click on the first one and I can just draw that arrow. It doesn't matter at the moment that it's pointing in the wrong direction, as you will see. So I'll draw it roughly to the shape that I want. Release the mouse button, and first of all I'm going to rotate the arrow so it's pointing in the direction that I want and it's positioned correctly. And you can see the rotate drag handle there. Just put the mouse pointer over that, click and drag, and I can rotate the arrow so it's pointing to the object that I want highlighted. I can also of course move the arrow just by clicking and dragging like so. Again, make sure you get the four-way arrow. So I've got the arrow head pointing to the edge of the circle. I can also change the shape of the arrowhead. You'll notice this yellow drag handle here. If I click and drag that, you'll see it actually extends the shape of the arrowhead, which I may or may not prefer. And you can see there the shape of the arrowhead is slightly different now. At the other end of the shape, there's another yellow drag handle. If I click and drag on that one, you'll see I can expand or narrow the width of the arrow line. So I have a few options there to change the style of the shape if you like. I can also reduce the length of the arrow just by putting the mouse pointer over the bottom drag handle there and just drag towards the shape like so. I don't want it to be too long, so that will do. And finally I want to add a text box to indicate why the arrow is pointing at that circle. So again, all you need to do is make sure the shape format option is selected, and if you don't see the shape format tab, if I just click away from all those shapes, you'll see it no longer appears. All you need to do is click on any existing shape and that shape format tab will appear. So from the shape format tab, again over on the left, there's a text box option here. So I simply click anywhere on the spreadsheet where I want to type my label, and I might want to know if there were any problems in April. And I'll have a question mark there as well. I don't know if there were any problems in April, but it's something I might want to ask. So that piece of text will tell people why the arrow is pointing to that circle around the April figures. And if I then click and drag again, just put the mouse pointer on the edge there, click and drag the text box towards the arrow. Now by doing that, I've made the text a little bit hard to read, so I'm going to fill the text box. So all I need to do again is go to Shape Fill, and let's add a color there. So let's give it maybe a bright yellow background, and maybe I'll apply some text formatting as well by going to the Home tab again and choosing the B for bold, and just click on the text size up arrow there to make that label stand out really clearly. Now when you're formatting text in text boxes, just make sure that you've selected the text box by clicking on the edge rather than one of the words. For example, if I click in the first word there and change the size, you'll notice only that selected word changes in size. So watch out for that. Click on the edge of the text box and then you can affect the entire content of the text box. Now that I've resized it, I'll just very slightly reposition that label there. Now that I've got those graphic objects just where I want them, I want to actually group them all together. So if I do move them, they all move in unison. And to do that, all I need to do, well, first of all, I'll click away completely and we'll look at the process from the beginning. So I want to group these three objects, the circle, the arrow, and the text box. So first of all, I'll click anywhere on the text box, hold down the Shift key, click anywhere on the arrow, hold down the Shift key again, and click on the circle. So those three objects are selected, and again remember, you just hold down the Shift key to select those multiple objects. I'll then come to the Shape Format tab and come into the Arrange section, and in the Arrange section over on the right you'll see there's a couple of buttons there, and the top button, if I put the mouse over, you'll see a label appear to say Group Objects. So if I click on that drop down arrow, the first option is to group, and if I click on that, and you can now see a boundary box around all three objects, and if I click on the edge and drag, you'll see they all move in unison. I should point out that it's still possible to move an individual shape. So for example, I can still click on the arrow and then click and drag that. So even though it's part of a group, I can move this arrow to a different location if I needed to do that. But if I click and drag on the edge, you'll see they all remain grouped still. So keep that in mind, that it is possible to move individual shapes within a grouped set if you need to. If you want to ungroup a set of shapes, you simply go back to the Shape Format tab again, once your group is selected of course. Again, come to the Group button, and just choose ungroup, and then your shapes are separated again. However, I'll leave them grouped for now, so let's just go back to that button again and choose group. The last thing I want to do here is add a company logo to my spreadsheet. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab and click on the Picture option, and I'm going to choose Picture from File. And in the File Browser dialog, you'll see I have a company logo folder. So if I click on that, you'll see there's my Fred's Movie Classics logo. I can double click or click once and click Insert. So there's my logo. Obviously I need to resize it, so let's just first of all drag it across the spreadsheet there. And if I click on the bottom right there, the drag handle, I can resize that to something a bit more suitable, like so. And just for now, I'm actually going to position it at the bottom of the spreadsheet there, and I might decide to relocate it later. Release the mouse button and just click away, and there is my completed spreadsheet ready for a discussion with my sales team. That completes this tutorial. I hope you found something useful there and you can add some interesting graphics to the spreadsheets that you're working on. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.